What you mean?
Because the fact that my ex-girlfriend, it was going back and forth, like, yeah, you still may like her and all that type of stuff. So it was still a little iffy going back and forth whether I was serious. But I also wrote in the book that I was really serious, and it was just going to be, J and N as we called it back then, J and N.
Between us. Our book was between us.
Yeah, it was between us. So, and we kept it between us. Once we got together, it really, once we started off, it really was something special.
Oh, you just saying it.
So that was that was how we first met.
It was something special.
Yep, something special.
Bounce. Yeah. We can make a toast. Don't you do the most? I've been waiting all day just to see you, babe. When the time is right, we can vibe all night. She's so fine, okay, like in every way. Like in every way.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Nicole.
And I'm Jason Scott.
And we are ScottsLand Love Podcast. So this is our first episode. And as you can see, we opted for like a really chill setting. I'm like really exhausted. And so I was like, all right, we need to record. But I don't feel like getting all glammed up. So This is what you're going to get from me today. Tonight, rather.
It's just very comfortable,
So we still have to try to get like acclimated as to like what our, we want our environment to be. And so we probably switch it up a little bit, but this is what you're going to get today. So what we wanted to do is give you guys a little bit of information about us, because we know everybody don't really know who we are. So we wanted to just like talk about our history and how we met and the significance behind our name and all that other good stuff that perhaps you may not know about us. And even if you know about us, that don't always mean you know everything about us, right?
Exactly.
So, ScottsLand Love Podcast. So basically, ScottsLand Love. So Scott is our last name.
Yes.
And it's hard trying to be original out here when everybody is doing a podcast. So we were like saying, oh, what about this name? What about that name? And then finally, Jason was just like, that's taken. So then finally I was like, well, how about we just put, okay, where we met and our last name, it kind of like is intertwined in one. And let's just do it that way. So he was like, all right. So we came up with ScottsLand Love because we met at a school called Scotland School for Veterans Children.
Right. And then I had the name already, because my name obviously is Scott, and I went to Scotland way before Nicole.
Yes,
so,
he did.
And
what year did you start?
I started in Scotland in 1989. I was
I was 9 years old.
Second grade. Yep. Yep.
Telling my age, y'all.
Exactly.
So he started in 1989. I started in 1995. So I was, of course, much older at the time that I started, and I was in high school. And I was just like, I actually remember like my mom and dad trying to get my brother into the school. My brother has a different story about this, but I know that they really wanted him to go and he didn't get accepted, but I did. And my mom was like, well, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, why not? So that's how I ended up there. And if I had never gone there, I would have never met Jason. Right. So things are meant to happen.
Thanks to our parents for getting her in there, because it was truly a blessing.
And by the way, he thanked my mom and them last week.
Already thanked them. I probably thanked them a long time ago, but
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's where we met. And we got two different stories, I guess. I don't know if we got two different stories, but
stories about what?
How we actually became friends first, and then became, girlfriend and boyfriend.
Well, the real story, from my perspective, is the fact that I remember not knowing Jason my first year, right?
No, I never
so I feel like I liked a couple people before I started liking Jason. And I'll tell you what really made Jason stand out. He was an athlete. at the time, and he was a really popular athlete up in this community that we were in. Jason was like really popular
up in ScottsLand.
Correct. So I recall like, you know, hearing a lot about him because of his athletic ability, and maybe like in my mind I was thinking, oh, he might go to the NFL.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Shut up.
I heard that from a lot of people. So
I mean, but no, I originally just was like, I guess I just started liking him. I don't even remember, but I know it was a couple people that I liked before him. Yeah. And I don't think he really knew who I was, and I don't think that I was really his type at the time.
No.
Right?
No, definitely wasn't my type.
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard of her through one of our student, I guess, counselors or house parents, what they called them up there. He told me about her, you know, as far as in name. He said, you need to get with a girl like Nicole. And me, like, you know, there's a lot of Nicoles at the school. So I didn't, you know, pick her. I picked some other Nicole, but
he thought they were referring to another Nicole.
Yeah.
But truth be told, the funny thing is I had a really good relationship with his brother, John. Like, John and I were really cool back then. And I hadn't even been at the school that long. I don't know if it was because his girlfriend at the time and I were cool. So then he and I became close. So it was just like, John knew about me. Yeah, and I think you might have mentioned me to John. You know, mentioned me, right? To John. Or said something about
I might have ran, you know, your name across him. And,
yeah.
He might have said, yeah.
So John knew what was up. She's
a good girl. But it really was the house parent telling me, you know, she's really a good girl. You should, you know, see what she about. And then, you know, I don't know how we approached or whatever, but we just started kind of like talking.
Yeah, we started talking. Right. And so we from us talking, I think Jason had a girlfriend at the time.
I did.
And so we weren't like exclusively like messing around. I mean, we were young. I mean, we're talking about 14, 15, right?
About 16.
Like 16. 16. Yeah, because it wasn't my 9th grade year. It was 10th or 11th grade that I started. Right. So we were like 16, 17 in between that age. So, I mean, it's just like, you know, young puppy love or whatever. Right. But anyway, so we started having like communication, and what we started was like what I think the trending thing in Scotland was these books. Yeah. Like that we were writing messages to each other back and forth.
Well, about the books, I mean, to be honest, I was writing books with a couple other females, friends. I mean, at the time I had friends and also had a girlfriend.
Friends.
Well, my girlfriend I was writing a book with, and I had other friends that I was writing a book with. Excuse me. But I decided that we should, you know, start a book because I thought, you know, when we not seeing each other, writing our thoughts down and kind of like a diary amongst ourselves would be something that would really bring us, you know, closer together as friends.
And to be honest with you, like I always like to write. Like that's always been something that I love doing. Mm-hmm. I think that's where Jameer gets it from. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you know, this is a side note for people that are in relationships and perhaps you don't, you know how to express yourself verbally. Shoot, write a note. Like that's as long as they get it and they understand, you know, do what you got to do. But these books really was like the start of how our relationship evolved, right? Exactly. So we were like writing each other these notes and stuff, and Jason had went in the basement and found the books and like actually read most of this stuff. Yeah. I honestly was browsing through it and I'm like, did I really say this? Yes. Like back in the day, I think I was just saying anything, but this is how thick these books were. And what we would do is we would give the book back to each other and then the next person would write whatever. Right. And then at some point, which I think was January of, I remember it being like January 1998 or something like that, we started like exclusively being boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah, because I had a rocky relationship and it kind of fell apart. And then since we were so close at that time, I figured, you know, why not, you know, give us a shot. And so we was first really close friends. We really got really close. So
we started off as close friends.
Right. So I figured, why not just make it official? I mean, even reading the book, getting up to that point was really, really difficult.
Wait, what you mean?
Because the fact that my ex-girlfriend, it was going back and forth, like, yeah, you still may like her and all that type of stuff. So it was still a little iffy going back and forth whether I was serious. But I also wrote in the book that I was really serious, and it was just going to be, J and N as we called it back then, J and N.
Between us. Our book was between us.
Yeah, it was between us. So, and we kept it between us. Once we got together, it really, once we started off, it really was something special.
Oh, you just saying it.
So that was that was how we first met.
It was something special.
Yep, something special. Between us.
Anyway, so like I said, we started evolving like with the books and stuff, and then Jason, I graduated because I was always a year ahead of him in school, but we're only like 3 months apart.
She's the cougar.
Shut up, it's cougar. He always be trying to
cougar
play somebody. What did you call me? The cougar?
I said cougar.
Oh, all right. He probably did say cougar. Anyway, I'm only 3 years older than him. So
3 years older than me?
I mean, 3 months. I'm only 3 months older than him.
She's 3 years older than me.
No, I'm 3 months older than him. We're the same age right now. So anyway, and so I had graduated, and he was still there.
Yes.
And so right after I graduated, I found out that I was pregnant with our son.
Yeah.
And yeah. And that was like the roughest 9 months of my life. Only because, well, I wouldn't say it was the roughest 9 months of my life, but it was like reality set in. Because first of all, I graduated high school. Here I am. I'm about expecting a baby. My boyfriend is still in high school.
Yeah. Up
at school. And I feel like we had the connection, but I just didn't trust Jason because he was still that popular athlete at the school. Yeah. So I kind of struggled with being at home, away from him, being pregnant, working 2 jobs, going to school. I was enrolled into Pierce College, and I was, working a job at the law firm with my mom, and then I was working part-time at this restaurant, a Steven Starr restaurant downtown called Striped Bass. So I always been about my coin, as they say.
Yeah.
And really just being independent, and I knew that, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen after he graduated. It's like, I got to take care of this baby. And so when I first found out I was pregnant, I feel like our relationship really took a rocky. Like, I just wasn't sure what was going to happen because, first of all, like I said, Jason was really popular in school, in high school, in sports, and his family, specifically his brothers. I love y'all. I love you, John. I love you, Joel. Rest in peace, Jamal. But they were like, dude, like, you gonna mess up your career? Are you sure? Like, you want to do this right now? You gonna mess up your career? And we were young. Like, all right, it's a tough decision to make, but we knew that we were going to make the right decision no matter what. But I think everybody was just surprised at how things had rapidly changed.
Yeah, initially, I was super happy and super excited, to having a child, of course. But yeah, once, I got with, some of my family members, they kind of was throwing my career in there because, I was a good athlete. So they figured, I wasn't going to be able to, stick to sports and stick to, my grind and try to get into the NFL as I wanted to get to the NFL. A lot of colleges at that time was, recruiting me, and, I was excited. So it was like having a child, they thought, was going, kind of dampen my spirit, and kind of kill my vibe. So I mean, I eventually got over that.
Right, everybody got over it, and we kind of moved on, but it was tough. And then it was like, we were young, like I said. I had the baby. Jason came home for the birth, but like I felt like he was doing some sneaky stuff up there when I wasn't there. And it was just like, no matter what he told me, I was just like, all right. But when you young, I'm speaking to the younger couples now. Like when you young, I mean, you're going to go through like those sketchy moments where it's just like, I'm going to compromise whatever I can to be with this person. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's always right. But you're going to believe mostly everything that they say, knowing that there's some, there may not be truth to everything. But when he came home, he graduated from ScottsLand. He came home. I was a little disappointed in, like, I don't know if I think I told you this, that I was disappointed in your decision to like go away, because he didn't go away, but he went to Valley Forge. So it's like, all right, I had the baby, right? I'm pregnant. I couldn't live my college dreams and go off campus, live on campus and all this. Yeah. But yet he took the opportunity to do that. And so.
But, it really wasn't going away. I mean, I went to Valley Forge.
But he ain't had no job, y'all.
That's a king of pressure.
He went away. He ain't have a job. And I'm taking care of this baby that
But, and then you got to think about the opportunity that I still had a possibility to make it, to that level. So
that was still in the talk, because we did do like eventually we did a combine, like he and I, we went together. We took Jameer with us because Jameer was a little like maybe one.
That's further down the road, but yeah.
But at the time it was just like, okay, the reality is we're both out of high school now, and we're not going to be together because you're going to be living on campus in Valley Forge. I didn't have a car. Right. It was like I only got to see him when his mom took us up there. Right. So it was just,
it was tough. It was tough. Times. It was tough. She didn't get to see me as much. We did still stick to writing. We wrote a whole lot. When I got the opportunity to call, I called her. Mm-hmm. And like she said, my mom brought up to a couple games that I had as far as when I was still playing football. So it was still tough, seeing my son, every time they came up was great. But not being home. But, I also only stayed there for 2 years. So I still had the opportunity to stay home, in which I did make that choice to stay home after I got out of 2 years. Because the junior college is 2 year, 2 year school. So after that 2 years, I moved back home.
So he came back home and went to Temple. And then he started selling DVDs.
CDs.
He still ain't have a job, y'all.
Hold up.
No, you ain't had no job.
You sure?
When you was at Temple,
I was lifeguard. I did lifeguard a little bit, right? At Penn, I did lifeguard at Penn. And I was making $10 an hour, so I was doing. And
something. Mind you, this whole time, like maybe 10% of my family actually liked.
Nobody really liked me, but
everybody liked me and his family.
But I know me. I had a hustler spirit, and I always knew myself personally, so I didn't really care what they thought. I knew, who the type of man I was to her, so I really didn't let type of man. I really didn't let the people that really shunned on me let that bother me. Yeah.
They had some legit concerns at the time.
They did. But
like we gotta give it to you. You just have to be real with people, and it's just like it ain't always it's not always peaches and cream with anybody, but just like giving y'all the background. It just started off like I felt like I was really lowering my standards at the time, only because I felt like Jason had the potential to do more than what he was doing. And I think that he knew in the back of his mind that he can do more.
Oh yeah.
And so when my family is saying that I'm working 2 jobs and I'm this and that and I'm taking care of Jameer, and he's just at school and whatever, it's just like, all right, wait, something's not right here.
My whole thing was, obviously she stopped school for the kid and everything, but I had in my mind.
No, I still was going to community. Remember?
Right, but in my mind, I was like, I got to get an education. I mean, I got to get an education, so I got to go to college. So, obviously you was still going to community, but I wanted to get an education so I can get into a career. I mean,
I agree. I think that. I'm glad that, the things turned out the way that they are now. But like at the time, I just felt the responsibility. So it's a difference in you wanting to go to school and get your education. Fine. However, we have a responsibility. We need Pampers. We need milk. We need all this necessities.
But in
necessities to take care of a child. My mind was like,
you sacrifice now to get the bigger prize in the future. That's how my mindset. But you didn't see that at that time.
No, I didn't.
But my whole mindset was sacrifice now for me, so in the future we be fine. Which is playing out at this point. But she didn't see that. I mean, obviously, But in my mind, that's how I thought.
And I think you don't really see it. Like all you see is what is going wrong. Well, not going wrong is what your expectations are not being met. And so it was just like, I'm glad that I've always been an independent type of person. Like,
Right.
and this is what I instill in my kids, like my son. Like, I'm like, mom and dad ain't always going to, hold your hand. When I was your age, I was making my doctors. I was doing all kinds of things for myself.
Right.
It's not that my mom and dad didn't want to do it, but I feel like I was forced to be more of an adult at a younger age because I had him. So I made it happen. But it's just like, it is difficult for other single mothers out there who don't have the family support, because if you have family support, that's good. If you have somebody, your mom, your parents alive, they're helping you.
Yeah,
that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I definitely.
But if you don't,
and I had family support. My mom and dad really.
His mom is
was
bomb.
right there,
and his dad,
by my side.
His family is bomb.
So that was really a good thing. My family's a period was there. They stuck by me, and everything was right there for me.
I'm just really blessed that I get along with my in-laws.
But it's also a blessing that she stuck by me, because I was straying away. I was straying away. I was doing some crazy stuff. I mean, CDs, selling CDs, hustling, getting some crazy stuff. So it was like, she stuck by me, and I'm.
But then he did end up getting a job at the where was it where you fell asleep? Security.
He
started working.
Yeah, I was.
He started working security.
I was top flight security.
At that point, I was working at another law firm. So I was working with my mom when I first had Jameer, but then I had to get my own insurance. So I got, because of my background experience, I was able to branch out and go to another law firm.
Top
so
flight.
At that point, I was at a law firm and he was finally had got like a pretty legit job.
Top flight security.
Where he was falling to have to sleep and everything else.
Well, I became a leader in that whole security space, and I kind of felt like I was the man there, and then I kind of went too far.
Got fired.
And got fired, sleeping on the camera, which I pretty much did that all the time. And this time, they just felt like I was trying to be the leader or the boss too much, so they wanted to make me an example. So they got rid of me. But it was actually a good thing, because I was working, that security job, and also I had got another job at the same time. So I was kind of working two jobs at one time.
What was the other job?
I was in the mailroom.
Oh yeah, he got a corporate job. That's
corporate
what he
job.
got.
I got a corporate job in the mailroom at Devereaux, while still going to school, because I was finishing up Temple. I just finished up Temple, and then two jobs just to pay it forward, because all the stuff I didn't do, coming out of junior college, I was paying it forward by working two jobs and trying to bring in some income for my one son at that time.
We had just Jameer, but it started to kind of like level out a little bit more when he started to have the stability and keep the job with Devereaux. I feel like I started seeing like some changes, but overall, I felt that we were still trying to be together. Like, we were still trying to be boyfriend and girlfriend. And like I said, it was like not to go through every single year, but over time, we really went through some challenges, like in terms of just trust and, me feeling like I'm not about to put up with this SHIT. Like, I really wasn't trying to deal with it. I can do better than this type of thing. Yeah. And I felt like Jason felt like maybe he was missing something at one point. Not missing something, but it was just like.
No, I mean, I don't feel like I was missing something. I just see me.
We weren't on the same page in terms of spiritual stuff.
Yeah, definitely not on that same page. But me personally, I was, I was working on myself, but she wasn't, worried about that. She was just focused on us together. But I was trying to work on myself and trying to figure out what I wanted to do at that time. Mm-hmm. And I think, she was in my ear with different things, and I wasn't doing right, none of that. But I was still trying to, draw the line on what I wanted to do in my life or my career and, my education and whatever I wanted to do. I was focused on that. But, she would, hit me with different things that, wasn't aligned with us. So that's kind of what it was.
And that is what it was.
That's what it was.
But you don't. I wasn't trying to change, because he always be like, "You can't change me. I'm not. You shouldn't be trying to change me. I'm who I am. This is what you get. Blah blah blah." And I was like, you know what? And I think you remember this time at this point, because I was like, you know what? You're right. So therefore, if we can't see eye to eye on this or on that or things that I'm not going to accept, I'm out. And so I think at that point he knew I'm not going to sit around and just wait for you to get yourself together. Like it's either you in or you out. And if it's one thing where you're trying to change somebody, but it's another thing where you have to set the expectations as a woman, in my opinion. A man know when he got something that's good and he don't want to see it leave. That's just me, in my opinion. And I felt like Jason knew that he may not, do you want to, and I think his brother was like, you want to see your son with, another nigga? Like he was saying all kinds of stuff to him too, because he knew I was going to be out as well.
Yeah,
and so,
but even some of my friends was like, man, you better stick it out. You better
I wasn't going to force. I definitely wasn't going to force it on him, but I definitely wasn't going to put up with this no more.
She didn't force it because
I was about to be out.
I was still doing my own thing, and then I think even throughout our relationship, you was on and off. Certain times we would break up, and then
like I felt like back then I compromised. I just compromised a lot, and I think we do that as women. Like no matter what, you going to do some things that you really probably don't want to do, or deal with some things that you don't really want to do because you want to be with this person. It's just like, I really love him. I don't really see myself being with anybody else. Right. They tell you this, they tell you that. You leave, you go back. They be with somebody else, and then they still calling you. They don't treat me like you do. I've heard it all. Okay, so then why the heck you with them then? So it's just like, you take care of me. And then you fall for it, and it's like, you feel bad because you got this bond because you have a child with the person. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have a kid with him, I probably would have been far gone a long time ago.
I don't think so. No, I don't necessarily think so.
I think so.
I don't think so. I think
he's so full of himself.
I think she would have still. I mean, not as much as she put up with me, some of the stuff, but I think we would have still stuck around. But the child, having Jameer really, I guess, kept it together a little bit more.
So then, after Jason, he kind of like started this business, with ACN.
Yeah.
And that was like the start.
That was a part of Trump.
It was so enlightening, and I think that was the start of his change. Like, he really was like on this.
Yeah, because at that point I started really reading a lot of books, a lot of financial books, a lot of mind books to help your mind grow, your mind develop. So I started really focusing on a change really in my life, and that really put me at a point to really change, really change and focus on being more polite and more
what's important,
respectful,
changing his mindset, his attitude.
My whole attitude really changed from that business because it really helped me start focusing on more books and stuff and reading.
He definitely changed, you guys, and I was like, I think
I was a lot more aggressive.
I think it, and I think what, huh?
I was a lot more aggressive, like with my attitude. I had a short temper. I still got a temper,
changed.
But I had a real short temper.
But I'm going to say, I think it was like me being an example and just being so diligent about so many things, specifically my faith, and just trying to, do what was right and really set the expectations in terms of what I wanted for myself and what I wanted in a relationship. And I think that definitely was a contributing factor to part of it.
Yeah, that was a big factor. I mean, because really after that, I really, really was very focused on our relationship. And
he gave himself to Christ. He got saved, and like I said, we believe in God. We're Christians, but we don't pass judgment on anybody else that does not believe in what we believe. So there are other couples out there, couples that we are very close with that may share different beliefs, but what I knew grew our connection was the relationship that I had with God. And so I think that was like something that Jason really could see and observe. And really started the pathway down the right direction to where he made a decision to do the same thing.
Yeah, it was a good decision, and that really helped us, get stronger, really develop our relationship into what it is today, and what allowed us to really be able to help others
Right.
Get to this point.
But so that's really our history. We got married and we got engaged, and then we got married in September of 2007. So we've been married quite some time now.
Yeah. 12 years.
About 12,
11,
yeah.
12.
Yeah. It's been a while because we've known each other so long.
Yeah.
So, but that was just like a little bit about us. We don't have a lot of time to go through every single detail, but we wanted to kind of give you guys just the background and tell you a little of our history. But before we leave you, we want to also share some words of wisdom. And like I said, there's this book that I read a long time ago that I was given as a gift when we first got married, basically, or like a little bit after. It's either we first got married or like months into the marriage. And it was 30 Days of Your Best Marriage is the title of the book. But this one passage basically says, God first, God always. That's what's most important. And it says, He is God first, and He is God always, and He is where we begin, or else we will not end up where we intended to go. So I think that really, really says a lot about us and, how we put God first,
Yes.
how we will always put God first.
Always.
And I think that definitely makes our bond stronger because we know with Him we can withstand anything that, comes our way in terms of our relationship. So if you seek Him first, all the good things will be added. So I think that is something very important that Jason and I tried to do together. And it's been working.
It's been working, definitely. So, take that tip, let it soak in, all you listeners out there. And then we'll come back with something, maybe later on. As far as episode 2, I don't know what that topic going to be, but we'll always have something for you, you can take on with you. Shout out to everybody that's following us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Just continue to follow ScottsLand Love. Continue to check us on Spotify, Apple, and all our social platforms. So thanks for tuning in. This is episode 1, ScottsLand Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Scott.
And I'm Nicole Scott. And we out.
Deuces.
If you want, what if you want?